Hello and welcome back to episode 6 of the Mastour Debatours podcast. Today we're doing more real life. We're doing more real life football stuff, and of course the season has ended, and we're going to be doing a season review of Manchester United. I got with me two lovely, fans of Manchester United who've probably been fans longer than I have. Of course, we have returning Samuel Gardie. How have you been?
Man, you can just call me Ibrahimovic for this episode.
Okay, Ibrahimovic.
Just call me Ibrahimovic.
He's already at Manchester United, apparently. And, of course, from our last podcast, JCC, how you been?
Yeah, good. All good. You couldn't get rid of me.
Yes, I could not. Now, we're going to be going down quickly, but before that, guys, at any time, please, I must suggest that you go ahead, just click on all their beautiful faces up here. Yes, click on Ibra and JCC rocking the beautiful AIG kit right there. And at any time, if you click on any of the borders, that'll take you directly to their, to their channels, and you can go ahead and subscribe to them because they make some lovely content. But alas, let's get stuck in, as they say, over the pond. Guys, it wasn't the best of seasons, I would say, by Manchester United standards. We, of course, finished in 5th, unfortunately tied with points and with Manchester City, but the goal differential put us into Europa. Not the best of times, and there are a lot of fingers to be pointed, but to you guys, I would say, JCC, kick us off. Where do you feel like it went wrong this season?
It's got to be recruitment is one of the main points. You've got the play style. You've got having no goals in the first half at your Fortress, the biggest stadium in the country, for the lowest total in the league or something. And I just think overall, we just don't have the players. The system wasn't right. A few players played well and stuff, but overall disappointing season, I think.
Overall disappointing season. Sam, where do you feel like this season went wrong?
I think with injuries, that's where I went wrong, to be honest with you. I know that's an excuse that Van Gaal has used, but I genuinely think because of injuries, we just couldn't get a consistent starting 11. You look at some of the Premier League sides that have won the league before, it's just pretty much the same starting 11, starting in, week out, knowing each other's gameplay, just knowing what each other's doing, knowing where they are on the pitch, and you keep shifting flanks and you keep shifting the starting 11, and it's really difficult to get any sort of momentum going. Early in the season, we had the Memphis and Luke Shaw connection on the left, and I thought that was one of our best attacking outlets. But you take that away and you bring in a new left back, and then you have to bring in a new right back when Darmian gets injured. And going forward, we were just so much weaker. And although it is a pretty weak excuse, I honestly think that the amount of injuries that we had and for how long some of them were, like Luke Shaw and Darmian earlier in the season, it's really hindered us this season for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good point. One of the things that I have written down right here is that Luke Shaw injury, I feel like, was huge. After he kind of went down, that's when all of our form dipped. We started choking it in the Champions League. That was right. I think he got injured, late November, around that time, leading into that December spell. And just a myriad of injuries, especially to the fullbacks. I don't think, we probably did, but I can't remember 3 consecutive games where we had the same starting back four. It was always some type of mix-up, either at one of the fullbacks or that center back, for center back, it was pretty much, Daley Blind and Chris Smalling, who, we're pretty good. We're pretty good at the start of the season. You could argue probably one of our better pairings throughout the whole entire season, but definitely, I think Luke Shaw brought so much, brought a level of just another dynamic that no other one of our fullbacks could really offer, and that's really, some of them could do a job defensively, but none of them had the makeup pace to actually bomb down that wing, to hit the overlap, to terrify and have the pace to terrify the opposing fullback or the opposing defenders, overlap and actually put in a decent cross, and then actually have the makeup speed to get all the way back and track down the likes of a really pacey winger like a Shaqiri or like a Willian. And he was just all over the place. Yes, he's still young. Hopefully he returns to full health. But I honestly do feel like if Luke Shaw had been healthy this whole entire season, that we probably could have made at least top 4. That's how highly that I regarded him. And when he went out, it seemed like he was a very vital linchpin, and it took a while to eventually get it all sorted out. But injuries for an LVG side is kind of a double-edged sword if we look at it, because if it wasn't for the injuries, you don't get, Fosu Mensah coming through. You probably don't get Rashford coming through. Like, Rashford, super duper lucky. Basically, like, Martial like pulls up in, I think it was just the pregame warm-ups in Europa, and then I think it was either Will Keane or I think it was Will Keane or one of the other young strikers like pulled a hammy in the under 21s. Otherwise, Rashford never even gets into the bench, and that's how he gets on. And then we've seen what he's done since. So it's kind of been a double-edged sword, I guess. So you can use it as excuses, and but there were other teams that had a lot of injuries. Like Arsenal's always notorious for having injuries as well, and they seem to manage. So, and Man City lost De Bruyne for long periods of time. But there are other things like, how do you guys feel about the LVG system? What do you think of like his legacy for what he has done for this club? Will you remember him fondly, or are you just glad to see him go, Sam?
A bit of both, really. I'm going to remember him pretty fondly, not just for what he did at United, but what he's done in world football. He's a real character, you know what I mean? Like, he's a really, like, in press conferences and stuff, he knows how to handle himself with media. He knows what to say. He's a good talker. Maybe forgets people's names sometimes, but that's okay. He's a good talker, and he knows how to handle himself. And that's really, like, the thing that I take away from Van Gaal. And I genuinely wanted him to do well at Manchester United. But after 2 seasons, a third season, could have gone either way. He could have picked it up. He could have not picked it up. But I think fresh blood in a new manager, I think, was what was needed. So it's a bit of both, really. I'll remember him fondly, but I'm also kind of happy to see him go.
Jay, how do you feel about LVG's legacy?
I think it's hard, isn't it, as Man United fans, because we're so used to the longevity of having Ferguson there. So everyone that comes in, like even Moyes, we're like really reluctant to just throw them to the curb after they have a few dodgy games or whatever. I mean, he's very funny, like Sam was saying off the pitch. I mean, he's been very entertaining to watch. Not really reflected in the football, I think. Some of the systems he put in play with the players he had. Also, injuries had played their part. I mean, like another one, just picking up on what you said, was Schweinsteiger. I think everyone thought, coming in, World Cup winner, and then where's he been for half the season, injured. And I think playing that 3-5-2, players like Schweinsteiger were going to be a big part of that system in the CDM role. But in terms of LVG, I think he's won a cup, he's been entertaining, but it's not enough at Man United. You need to be winning games at home 4-0, 5-0, and you need to be up there challenging for the title, and that's not where we were.
Yeah, I think I echo a lot of your guys' sentiments. It's a little bit of a mixed bag. I was ready to see him. I was definitely ready to see him go around December time this year. Definitely, was never really able to turn. I mean, it looked good. He, in his first year, he qualified us for Champions League. It looked like things were going to go on the up and up. But then, the system, the football that we saw, it seemed so stunted. Like the creativity, a lot of reports have been saying is that the players had to play within themselves. They were too afraid to make runs or make a crucial pass or beat their man. There are rumors saying that like they were told just straight up, just don't beat your man, just kind of hold on possession and be patient about it and play your position. And you could see it in certain players like Memphis and Angel Di Maria. Didn't really, it's no coincidence that all of a sudden Di Maria goes to PSG and all of a sudden he's Di Maria again. There is a legacy of him, and it's both sides of him bringing in youth, as we said a little bit earlier, and also stunting some players that you might, Memphis we thought was going to be a slam dunk and, not so much. And it seemed like he really lacked confidence, that he wasn't really playing his game that had just shown so brightly when he was playing for PSV and, playing in the World Cup. So for that point, it was a negative, but for me, I think the game just kind of caught up to him. Whatever he was, made great, the tactics of the game or whatever, the players, the athleticism, whatever it was, is that sports change from era to era, and whatever he was playing at, it just wasn't working in the Prem anymore, and for that kind of sucks. Of course, very entertaining. I will always remember him fondly before when he flopped at Arsenal. Like, that's always going to be my memory of him. I was just like, we needed more of that. Like, we needed more of him, like, flopping on the pitch and yelling and showing a bit more passion. But, and all of his, press conference, for me personally being, a Chinese American, when he toasted the Chinese for no apparent reason, I thought that was a legendary. It was like, to the Chinese, we say, we are with you. And then he drank wine. And I was just like, this is an amazing man. This is an amazing human being in front of me right now. So for me, I'll remember him fondly, and hopefully his legacy is that he brought on the likes. Like, he had the eye. I don't know if it was him or Woodward, but he had the eye to go ahead, sign Martial when no one knew who Martial was, to bring on through Rashford and to bring on Fosu Mensah and maybe Boswell Jackson, Valera, all these other players that hopefully, we finally get to see an injection of our youth system, which we haven't seen in probably like the last 10 years, so for that, I think it's going to be a mixed bag. It was a rough season, a lot of injuries, the system kind of bringing us down, but it did end on a high note. We were able to go ahead and win the FA Cup. Guys, how long did you celebrate the FA Cup before you started reading up on articles if Jose Mourinho was coming in? Give me the exact timetable. Jay, you seem to be giggling.
It was like instantly, wasn't it? It was like he pretty much had his hands on the cup. Because remember the press conference where you could tell he knew something was up because he was in there and he was clutching that cup, wasn't he? And he was like, I've just won this. Like, nobody said well done. Nobody said well done. Because you could tell a little bit, I think he'd heard or seen something, or someone had whispered in his ear. Which, to be fair, Man United probably could have given him a couple of days to enjoy it before letting it out. But I guess if they're going to do it, get it done. So yeah, it was instantly. I remember it being instant BBC Sport for us. I just opened up the app and it was just Jose Mourinho to take over. It was above the FA Cup. It was above the FA Cup.
Wow.
It was bigger.
That's cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Sam, did you treasure the FA Cup, or were you like, well, Mo's coming in?
It was a nice thing to win, but yeah, it was about a minute before I saw the news, and yeah, it was just completely forgot about the FA Cup at that point. I mean, it was almost like, that's it, let's just look to the future now. Let's just try and fix what's happened over the past 3 years, despite winning an FA Cup. It wasn't really, let's enjoy this as a cup win. And I know a lot of the people at the actual stadium were really upset because the mood kind of changed, the atmosphere kind of changed outside the stadium once the news broke, which was instantly. So, I don't know, it was kind of a weird one. It was almost just like... It was almost like that cup was just for Van Gaal, really. It was just sort of like, you know what, thanks for actually sort of turning this club into the right direction after Moyes, because he has brought in a lot of talented players. So it was almost like that thank you sort of thing. It wasn't really for us. I feel like it was more for the players' confidence and just sort of showing that we're going in the right direction, that we can win games and we can win things. So yeah, it was a bit of a weird one.
Yeah. It's almost a pity because it was a legendary FA Cup final. The way that everything unfolded, and then Lingard to lash that in extra time, like a laser beam of a volley or a half volley. This is it. I've forgotten. The vision of the goal was already gone from my freaking head now because
I'm not forgetting that. I'm not forgetting that.
Was it a volley or was it a half volley? I remember it laser beaming in.
I'm pretty sure it was a volley.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, I think it was a volley.
It was a volley? Okay. This is
I could be wrong, though. Maybe I've forgotten as well.
The iconic imagery of this FA Cup is one, that final goal, the laser beam of a goal from Lingard, and two, well, probably above everything else, was freaking what's-his-face doing the samba on the sideline. Was Pardew doing the samba on the side, which he will never live down for the life of him. That was such an amazing moment. Did you guys feel that, once he did that, it was like, yeah, they have to win. Otherwise, this is United's probably going to win this.
Definitely. You put pressure on yourself at that point.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was all it was a terrific goal to open it up by punch-in as well. De Gea getting beaten at his near post, that you never see that. And it was a terrific game. And now it's fading from my memory because almost instantly after that, it was just hey, Mourinho's coming in. And I almost, if I could, this might be blasphemous. I would almost like take, if I could, go back in time and allow Crystal Palace to win. Let that happen. Because they would appreciate it so much more. Like, Crystal Palace fans would appreciate it so much more than United. United are just like, oh, we won it a whole bunch of times. This is another one. Good job, LVG. But anyway, on to the next season. Like, at the same time, Crystal Palace are still, like, crying over how that could have gone for them. I believe they've never won it before, and it would just been absolutely precious to them. But that's perspective in sports, I guess. But, all right, we'll move on to the next subject. We've kind of covered this already. How do you feel like, how do you guys feel about Jose coming in, the way that he came in? Sam, you already said that you could have taken it or leaving it with LVG coming back for another season. I myself am not that big of a fan, but that's done. It's over. He's gone. He's left his legacy. It's a million grapevines. But now Jose is coming in. Are you optimistic? Are you, happy about it? Are you distraught about it? Are you, I guess, carefully optimistic? Where's your head at about Jose?
I am cautiously optimistic, I think, if I had to sum it up. It's sort of like, let's just see how the first few months go. If we're on fire, it could be just typical Jose Mourinho coming in at instant success. It just, you can't really tell with Mourinho, right? Because like his first 2 seasons usually are really, really strong. And you think everything's going well. Like, I'm sure this is what Chelsea were thinking after they won the Premier League. Look, everything's going well. Let's do well next season. Try and win the Premier League again. And it's just sort of out of nowhere with Mourinho. It just sort of crumbles. It happened at Madrid. It happened at Chelsea. It just sort of goes wrong somewhere. And you have no warning, which is why I am so cautious. Because even if we start off well, it could just drop at any minute, and everything could go to shit. So I don't know, man. With Mourinho, honestly, I hope it's a long-term signing. I would love for us to have a manager for more than 5 years. I don't know if Mourinho can do it. I don't know if he's the man to do it. But man, I am excited because I think Mourinho has an aura about him, and he's going to attract big players just on his name value. Players want to play for Mourinho. So there's 2 sides of Mourinho, and I don't know which one we're going to get.
Jay, how are you? Are you optimistic about this? Are you, about the play style that he's going to bring?
Yeah, I'm going to put the cautiousness to the side. I respect it, but just because of the 2 years that I've had to endure of falling asleep on Sunday afternoons watching us play football, I'm just hoping, even if it is 2 years of success, I'm going to be ignorant. I'm going to ignore Sam's very sensible opinion of looking to the future, and I'm just going to go, you know what, we're going to have the league, we're going to win the League Cup and the league next year, and I'll take that, and then I'll deal with whatever emotions come next, because I think with him, he is fireworks, isn't he? So he's going to bring in some big players. He's already got Zlatan. I mean, that probably wasn't 100% his signing, like we were linked with him before, but he's got that deal done. He's going to bring in some more exciting players, and we know that hopefully we're going to be playing in the Champions League next year, and who knows? Like you said, he plays that short-term success card, and we get the league title run under this year. That would be great.
Is Zlatan like confirmed, or it's like almost all but confirmed at the moment?
Oh shit! Have you guys not seen? I thought literally just as this podcast is gone, it was all over Twitter, like he's trending, like it's.
Oh really?
Yeah, like literally.
I have not seen it. I was like, wait, what? Are we?
When we joined the call, I didn't say anything because I was like, I'll leave it to the podcast just in case. But yeah, it's not like official, but
okay, yeah.
But it's like official? It's back on
Twitter official.
It's Twitter official, yeah. Like it's like I got like 4 tweets telling me straight away from.
But it's like the big boys. It's not like the Sun or the Express. As an American, I even know that the Sun and the Express or the Metro are bullshit.
Oh yeah,
but it's like it's actually BBC. It's Sky Sports and them. Are they reporting it?
Sky Sports.
Sky Sports.
I'm just watching the
Sky
video.
Sports are reporting it. Yeah.
There we go.
So we've got him.
Wow, breaking news. Well,
Sky Sports got it.
Well, that changes my answer on this one. No, I was already optimistic. I was along with you, Jay, of like, you were falling asleep at in the afternoon. As an American fan, and probably like Sam, you have some ungodly hours that you have to wake up to. I have to wake up at sometimes 3, 4, 5, or 6 a.m. in California to go ahead and watch. And it was all fun and dandy when I was watching them, when they still had, Rooney, or they had like Ron Van Persie. And it was cool because I knew this is why I am sort of, people can deem it as a glory hunter. I knew that if I turned it on, if I woke up that early, I would be rewarded almost like 100, well, not 100% of the time, but most of the time with a win, or at least a good, entertaining game. Nowadays, I'm like, why did I wake up?
Yeah.
Why did I do this? Like, I understand, like, I've grown to love this team and attach to this team and I'm loyal to it. But why am I awake right now watching this drivel? And even if we're going to be honest with ourselves, like, this is why I wanted Cutsy on, because Cutsy's been very vocal on them Twitters about saying that, like, the club that he loves is being dragged through, it's more than just winning trophies. It's about playing, and it's about a certain philosophy about the club that he grew up with. And I feel like he feels possession of that club, and that, like, there's that attacking spirit of Manchester United that he grew up watching and loving. But that hasn't been there since, since Ronaldo left, pretty much. Like, it has not been there. We've been playing some ugly, ugly football for a long time. And if we are going to play some ugly football, I'd like to win. And there's no one better at winning and playing ugly football in the modern age than Jose Mourinho. So I am all in for this, man. I don't care. I honestly don't care if we play, like, if we park the bus a couple times and people are yelling out on Twitter. I'm saying, Jose, you stay strong, man. You do you. As long as you get that W, as long as you eke out those 3 points, occasional 1 point. Don't get the W, don't get the zero. Don't get the zero. And then we'll be good. Win the league. That would be awesome. Baby steps, man. If we could just win at any. There's an American there's an American team over here that their motto is just win, baby. I don't care if it's defensive. I don't care if it's offensive. I like for it to score some pretty goals. Yeah, but as long as you get 3 points, done and dusted, I'm happy with it. Maybe maybe I'm dreaming a little bit too big, but maybe get a UEFA Champions League. At least a quarterfinal. I think in the next 3 years, if he's here for the next 3 years, he can be tricky in that competition as well. And I'm hopeful, man. Like, we still, even under LVG's system, we had one of the best defenses in the league. So all of his pieces are there, in order. He makes a couple more signings. I feel like this is the best thing that we could possibly hope for. Like, honestly, out of you two, was there any other manager out there that you realistically could have seen coming in? I know I personally said that I probably would have preferred Pep over Jose Mourinho. But now that he's gone to Man City, and now that that's gone, then, like, Jose is definitely the next best thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd take Pep either. Because you look at Guardiola and he's worked with two very talented teams. How's he going to do with a team without those sort of world-class players? You saw he struggled to do well in the Champions League, like with Bayern Munich. And that Bayern Munich side is a lot better than people give it credit for, I think.
Scary.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So the fact that he didn't even make a final, I'm not sure with Pep, man, to be honest. I'm cautious with him as well. I'm not sure he'll do that well at Manchester City unless he can bring in like beast players, which I'm sure he can. But I think Mourinho, he's worked with lesser sides before, I think. So I think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, do you know, the only manager, I don't think Guardiola, Klopp, anyone that I would have probably had the debate over Mourinho would be Simeone. Because he's clearly there for the long haul. He's like Atletico. He must have had offers to have left by now. And I think he's still going to stay after losing again. And to do what he's done with that team is kind of reminds me of what our Man United team is. There's no real world-class players in it at the moment. There's young players that could be, but there isn't. You've got like Rooney, who I'd say is a Griezmann. They're really similar, basically. And he's just got them playing for their shirts. They're playing for each other. And I tell you what, if I could have the spirit of that at Man United, half of it, I'd be happy for next season.
Yeah, but here's the thing about, like, that's the other big, those are the two big names. Probably Pep and Simeone are the dream, right? But Pep, as Sam said, has only really played with world class teams. And then Simeone, all the same criticisms about ugly football and defensive football that you could pose to Jose Mourinho, you could pose again to Simeone. And the reason why he has such dedication and love for the shirt, and he has him playing for the shirt, is because he used to play for that team. Like he clearly loves Atletico. And here's the thing: we've seen it in the past. Maybe we're drawing connections stronger than some might have said, might justify. But Jose seems to have had a fondness for Manchester United throughout the years. Famously after the Real Madrid game, he got slandered because he said that the best team lost today. After, I believe, he sympathized when Nani got sent off for that high red card, I believe. And he seems to have wanted this job. It's in the papers, and take it with a grain of salt, but apparently he wanted to be the one to succeed after Sir Alex Ferguson. Chelsea was the one that gave him the shot, but he's always had eyes of, these puff pieces do come out. He said pretty similar things when he was at Real Madrid, like, this is the biggest club in the world, yada, yada, yada. But do you feel like there's truth behind it? Do you think that, Jose really, really does treasure Manchester United, or you think he's just kind of playing it up now?
Yeah, I think he's definitely more connected to Manchester United than Guardiola is to Manchester City, a team that when Guardiola was even playing himself, he would have barely have heard of. So that is purely a money game for Guardiola, whereas Mourinho, knows he can do something special. Like, even if Manchester City win the Champions League, it's not really groundbreaking. I don't think, like, they should be winning the Champions League. They're spending like 200 million a transfer season. They should have a squad like Bayern's, but they don't. So yeah, it would be an achievement, of course, but it wouldn't be the same achievement as I think, which is kind of hard to say as a Man United fan, as if Mourinho could take us to the Champions League title now, since Fergie left.
And Sam, do you feel like it's just lip service from Jose, or do you believe that he could settle down? I guess that's more of the question. Do you have any belief that he could possibly stay here for more than 3 years? What are your odds? What are your personal odds? That he finally sets down roots. This is a club that he's
I think
always
it's pretty
wanted.
50-50. I think it's pretty 50-50, if I'm being honest. I think his affinity with Manchester United more so comes from Sir Alex Ferguson. I think without Ferguson, even if we'd had the same success, but without Ferguson, with a few different managers, I don't think he'd have the same affinity for United. He's talked about Sir Alex Ferguson in real high regards throughout his entire career. So I think that's sort of where his affinity for Manchester United comes from. As far as settling down, it is 50-50. I don't know if he'll do it. I want him to, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. So I don't know.
Jay, how many years do you think Jose stays at Old Trafford?
It is so hard to say. If I'm going to be put on the spot, I'd say 3 years. But the dream would be 10. But, we all know he likes to move on.
Yeah, definitely. Although, I mean, even when he was at Chelsea in this last stint, there were, whispers of him saying he kind of wants to settle down. He kind of wants to set roots at a place now. He's basically been in every single top-level competition. He's won it in almost every single top-level competition, every league. I guess it could be like the league would be this final thing, but is that really... he's always said that he's loved the English league above everything else. I don't see him really leaving for the French league. And I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to say 5 years. I think he wants to be the next, Sir Alex Ferguson, but I think that the way that he manages will implode on him eventually at some point. Like, I think he's going to do, and I think he's learned a lot of lessons at what happened at Chelsea, and the English press has kind of given him a lot of leeway, but the English press has kind of also caught on to his antics and stuff, so it's going to be a little bit harder for him to get away with certain stuff now that he's in his third stint here in the English league. So we'll see. I think he wants to set down roots, but I just don't know if he can hold it all together. So I'm going to say an optimistic 5 out of all of us. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Let's wrap it up on what this season was. I think this is going to be a pretty easy one. We're going to talk about who we felt was the MVP of this season, who was your young player of the season, and who was the unsung hero of the season. Let's start out with MVP. I think I have a psychic thing going through. I can already predict what Sam is going to say. Sam, is your MVP a goalkeeper by chance?
He is, yeah.
All right.
His name is Victor Valdez.
What a legend. But go ahead. Just gush about this man.
I've said it in the last episode. I don't really have to say much on De Gea. He speaks for himself, really. Some of the saves he makes, the level of crucialness that his saves have, man, that guy has earned us points. Like, people said Czech, like when Arsenal signed Czech, they said Czech is like a 15-point season signing, you know. But De Gea, man, he genuinely, I think, probably got us earned us anywhere between 15 and 20 points this season. I think that's how crucial he was.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. Jay, would you say your MVP is De Gea as well?
Yeah, 100% De Gea. I think people like Luke Shaw and Darmian actually started the season very strong. Those two, I actually thought, with Depay's early season form, were going to take the title. And there's obviously been performers through the season. But De Gea, he's better than Neuer. I've said it.
I think we're all kind of.
I agree.
We're all kind of there.
I've said it.
Yeah, we're all kind
I've
of
said
there.
it. Neuer doesn't have to do Neuer doesn't do anything. He just stands there while his team pass the ball about. De Gea makes like 10 saves a game. So, yeah. It's crazy.
Neuer occasionally runs out and kicks a ball, that's outside of his box.
Yeah.
He gets bored.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very good, but
must.
we're just saying De Gea is just a little bit better. So I'm gonna rephrase this. I'm going De Gea as well, but you guys gush about it. Who was your MVP that wasn't De Gea? That's a lot more challenging, I would say, here. So
I already have one in mind. It's Chris Smalling.
All right.
I think.
Yeah.
I think this season he learned how to control a defense, and that's not something I've seen from Chris Smalling for his entire career. He's usually been the follower rather than the leader of the centre-back partnership. I think Blind does help him. I'm not sure Blind is necessarily the follower. I think he also led quite a bit because Blind, I think, is probably the smartest player that we have as far as football IQ. I genuinely think he is the smartest player we have. So I think he did have a bit of help, but I've never seen Smalling commanding defenses and beasting the way he did, making the right decisions. I just think that he really stepped his game up, and I genuinely think that he's been the cornerstone of that defense. I think without him, that defense would have struggled with strength, with height, with pace. I think he really bossed the defense.
Yeah, definitely one of the contenders. Jay, who would you have as your MVP?
Yeah, Smalling's mine, mate. Smalling is a player who he just showed all the signs of being like the next Rio Ferdinand. He's the same build. He's strong. He's good in the air defensively. He just played with such a lack of confidence. And then now to see a player like him shining. I mean, if I'm honest, if I'm critical, a little bit less red cards. He got sent off in that City game, didn't he, earlier on in the season? That cost us that game, I think. And then the FA Cup final was quite a risky sending off as well. I'm not sure that needed to be done, but that's maturity, I guess. I mean, probably the best centre-back in the world at the moment, Ramos, he gets sent off every 2 games or something. So maybe it just comes with the trade.
Yeah, definitely. I think Chris Smalling is right up there, and I definitely probably agree with both of you guys. Ever since he got sent off last season at Man City, he's transformed. Like he evolved from Charmeleon to Charizard. Like he is a completely new beast. You know what I'm saying? Like he finally became. Because for years, when we signed him, he was like, he's going to be the next Rio Ferdinand. And then there was 3 years where we played him at right back. And we were like, if he's the next Rio, why is he playing at right back? And he's a mediocre right back at that. And then finally, after, that Man City game, I was like, I'm done with him. Just transfer this kid away. He's never going to be good enough. And then,
I mean, Phil Jones was rated higher than him.
Exactly.
A season. Phil Jones.
Yeah, and where is he now? He's just constantly in the bench.
It's those two, they're battling, weren't they, for seasons. Like one was going up and then one would do something shit and everyone would be like, get rid of him. And the other one, Smalling, would play a bit more than he'd be shit. And now Smalling's finally just maybe had the balls to just grab it and go, you know what, this is mine. I'm going to be the future Man United captain. I'm going to take this.
Yeah, and he captained England the other night too. I believe he scored a goal in that game. Yeah.
Yeah,
he
did. Scored a late winner.
Yeah, and that's I feel like sometimes it's like a lesson in life is sometimes you got to hit rock bottom. Like to get sent off against Man City cost your team the league, get absolutely destroyed on Twitter, and then you look at yourself in the morning the next day, it's like, well, it can't get much worse than this. So you might as well, like, fucking just go for it, sometimes. And he did. You could see that he worked his ass off. His concentration levels are way higher than they've ever been. He arguably the best defender in the league for the first half of the season. There have been some iffy moments in the second half of the season this year. So that's why I'm going to probably give my personal MVP to Martial. And the reason why is that as decrepit and unimaginative as our offense was, if it wasn't for Tony, if it wasn't for this brilliant young Frenchman, it would have been maybe the worst season to watch United. Like, can you imagine watching this season without Martial? Like, it would have been impossible. He was the only guy that was willing to take on opponents. He was pretty much the only force. Like, at least 90% of our offensive chances, like, went through him, it seemed like. He was either creating chances, he was either breaking players down, creating openings for other players, assisting players, or scoring crucial goals, or just non-crucial goals as well. And for that, at the age of 19, at the young, even at his young age, he was pretty much, until Rashford came up and popped up, pretty much the offense. And it's weird. That was another thing, is that he doesn't get his shot unless Rooney goes down. Like, Rooney went down for a little bit of time, and then Martial just took right off, and it took a while for Rooney to kind of find his place back in, and it was always kind of behind the pecking order. Remember, that was at the beginning of the season when we were playing Rooney up front, and we were like, he is done. He is done. He cannot sort his feet out. He does not have the legs anymore. And if it wasn't for Martial, like, it could have been a rough season. So for that, I'm going to give him my MVP and also my Young Player of the Year for the exact same reasons. Sam, here, Rashford or Martial, I guess, is the big question for your Young Player of the season. Or if you want to surprise me with someone else, you can go ahead. But Sam, who was your Young Player of the Year?
Well, last week I said Rashford was the Young Player of the Year for the Premier League. So, I mean, I have to go Rashford because I said it last week. But, like I said last week, you take your pick between Martial and Rashford. It doesn't matter. They're both fantastic players. And I genuinely think that they're, like, if we can just hold on to them and if they don't get injured and they play consistently, that partnership could be freaking insane. Rashford and Martial. So take your pick, either one of them. I'm going to go with Rashford just because of how he stepped up when he needed to. Like, when the opportunity was given to him, he stepped. Like Martial, he was signed for a big fee. You know, he sort of had the pressure on it and he shook that off and he played well. But he was already, like, signed as a really good player, whereas Rashford just sort of took his opportunity, probably the only opportunity he would have gotten if he had not scored in that game or if he hadn't played well in that game, probably would have never seen another first-team game other than injuries. He took his one opportunity and he made an entire freaking... I mean, I think he's really boosted his career now. So it's really exciting times for Rashford. That's why I'd give it to him.
Yeah, that would have been funny if you were like, Rashford is the Young Player of the season, but Martial is the Young Player for Man United for some reason. Jay, who's your Young Player of the Year?
Well, what if we argue that Rashford only came in February? Could he be the player of the season? If he's only come in February, he's made such an impact, and I'm pretty much on your side. I'm just playing devil's advocate. And you say the duo of Martial and Rashford, which is obviously amazing. But what about Jesse Lingard? Do you think he slips under the radar a little bit? He's had a great season. He's 23, so I'd still put him in the young category, but he's not. Yeah, he should be getting towards his peak, but scoring that goal in the FA Cup final, as much as we play down the FA Cup, that's a big moment for him. So I think he's one to watch for next season. But again, bringing it back, it's a shame Luke Shaw was injured. I think he'd probably be one of the first names on the team sheet, one of the first names on the England team sheet. For sure, he'd be on that England, in that left-back slot. But yeah, those three really were the main highlight.
Gotta choose one. It's tough. It is tough.
Martial, that Liverpool goal was like, I was screaming at that.
Yes,
when he came off
I
the
remember. Bench. Yeah, I was screaming at that.
Martial, just because he did it for the whole season. Martial, but Rashford was amazing.
And it's also like that Liverpool goal is is just it's when
Beautiful.
like when I learned that, I believe it was like Martin Atkinson, like when I found out that he was a Manchester United fan because
Yeah.
literally like 2 minutes earlier, Benteke scores a wonder bicycle kick. It's just like, oh, brilliant goal by Benteke, and then Martial like slips in and goes, ah, yes. I was like, Jesus Christ. There was so much emotion in it. It was like, oh yeah, there's no bias in those calls, at all. But phenomenal stuff. And that's the thing, is that now that I think about it, is just like Rashford came in and he's just done it. It's what have you done for me lately kind of stuff, where he scores crucial goals, but so does Martial. It's just Martial did it first. It was first like, who the hell is this guy? We paid way too much money for him, and then he announces himself in his first, I think it was like his first sub-in the Liverpool game against Liverpool to score the winning goal. Cool as you like, just absolutely rinsing off Skirtle, announced himself, and then he played phenomenal the whole entire year. That we kind of almost, this is weird to say for a first-year player, but take him for granted. Rashford does almost the exact same thing. Absolutely nobody knew anything about him. Goes in Europa, scores 2 goals, and then he's like, a 2-goal wonder. The people are injured. Let's see how he does against Arsenal. And then absolutely announces himself with 2 more goals, and then just his goal per I think attempt ratio is off the charts. And then he goes on. First England game, scores in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So his story has just been white hot. But Martial scored that goal to get us into the FA Cup, I believe, against West Ham. So they both have been neck and neck the whole entire year. It's just Rashford's kind of been the hotter name as of recent. So I hope so. What was that?
Do you know what that is definitely because if you have if up to December, if you're MVP, if you're boss in the league and doing everything, you got 10 assists, 10 goals, then you get injured and you're out. You're much better off doing it the other way around. If you just do nothing and then you come in December, you're getting team of the season. You're up for everything, all the awards and everything. So it's a little bit biased, isn't it? Like when you think of it like that, if you have a good start to the season and you fade off, it's much better to come in and just blow it away at the end, and then everyone remembers you.
Definitely, it's that bias, and that's what we have to be aware of. That's why I didn't put Lingard in, because as amazing as that Lingard goal was, I kind of remember that Lingard's been on the pitch a lot this season, and he's had a couple of good games. But I feel like compared to the likes of Rashford and Martial, his overall impact of games, because there were games when I was just like, get off. Just he's not quite there yet. So for me, he's a good young promising player, but I still, my jury's still out. While Rashford and Martial just seem like destined stars. My only caveat about this is what Sam was saying earlier. Oh, I had a burp. Excuse me. Was that that partnership between them could be something special. The only issue is that maybe it's just me, but every time I see those two play together, I don't feel like they have the greatest chemistry linking up. If you think about a lot of their goals, not a lot of them are assisting each other, and not a lot of them are really played through each other. They seem to have a kind of a poor understanding of where the other one's going to be. Of course, they've only had maybe a handful of games, because when Rashford came in, it was because Martial was injured. So they've only had a handful of games together. Hopefully it builds, but I don't know, maybe something to look out for in the future. But let's move on. This is what Jesse Lingard could be classified as, and that is who's your unsung hero of the season. Jay, let's start off with you. Who did not get enough credit this season that you feel like should? Oh, he's deep in thought. Jay, do you have anything for me, or do you want one of us to go ahead of you?
It is difficult because I think the season we have hasn't blown us away. It'd be easy to do this if we won the title. This question, sorry. Mm-hmm. But then I think, like Sam mentioned earlier, players like Daley Blind, who has really come into his own. He's not been amazing, but he's been good enough to get us where we kind of got, I guess. It's kind of harsh. It's quite negative, isn't it, really? But yeah, I mean, we've covered the young players saved our season, realistically. There wasn't too many, in my opinion, outstanding performers. Like Jesse Lingard, you said, shows little signs of doing it, but then fades away. Rooney, a lot of injuries, couldn't cut it up front. Does amazing in the FA Cup to dribble past the whole team and assist the goal. But
where was that all season?
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're there like, you could have done it. You could have done it more. So I actually can't pick one. But Daily Blind, I'll put a name to. I'll say Daily Blind because he was good. He did the job.
I would say, this is my honorable mention for young player was Fosu Mensah when he was in there was immense.
Yeah.
Like he was absolutely phenomenal. And I think a testament was that Tottenham game where the moment he went out, like Tottenham scored 3 goals.
Yeah.
I mean, it was more than that. I understand, but it almost seemed like he was all over the place in that game. And then the moment that he picked up a knock, everything seemed to crumble. And hopefully, I mean, he is definitely like a player to watch and, a defensive-minded player, a player that can play all over the midfield as well as the back line. So I think he's definitely going to be hopefully is in the plans of Jose Mourinho. Sam, who was your unsung hero this season for you?
I mean, I was going to go, I think because like Herrera and Schneiderlin, they're like the fans see that they're talented, and the fans love them. So I feel like they're not really unsung. I feel like people are actually shouting for them to start. So, I mean, if we're going by... No, I won't say either of them. Blind is a really good shout. For me, it's going to be a weird one. And a lot of people are going to be like, what? But I'm going to go for when he played and when he stepped into the team, Antonio Valencia.
Okay, yeah.
Genuinely. I think he's not an outstanding player, Valencia. He doesn't really have much in him. Doesn't have the skill. He has pace, which always helps in the Premier League. I just feel like he didn't do anything wrong this season. Positionally, as a right back, even though it's not his natural positioned pretty well throughout the season, didn't really put a foot wrong, honestly. I think he was actually pretty solid when he played at the right back position when he needed to. And I feel like he is probably one of our stronger squad players, I think. The versatility helps, of course, especially coming off the bench. And I just feel like no one really says, yeah, Valencia had a good game or he had a solid game. I feel like people struggle to give him acknowledgement. Him and Ashley Young, I don't know what it is about them, but I think like people can't seem to give him enough credit. And I just feel like Valencia, when he played, I don't remember him specifically doing anything majorly wrong. So I'm going to go with Valencia for unsung hero. Unsung.
Yeah,
player.
unsung hero. Yeah, that's a
Not
really
really a
good
hero.
shout. Because now that I remember it, like Valencia was very solid defensively, and he put in some of the better crosses that we've seen in his career as a United player. So yeah, he definitely. I think he had like a couple of assists this season. He was good when he stepped in. My unsung hero of the team, probably echoing a lot of you guys. Daily Blind was shaky at the start. Then performances against like the likes of like Lukaku really, really showing. I was like, damn, I did not know you had this in you. And but I would say, I guess I'm cheating because Sam said that they kind of get, credit. I would say Ander Herrera. I know a lot of the fans love this kid, and I personally am an adoring fan. But remember, like, Martial is the one who gets the glory because he struck in and snuck that goal in injury time up against West Ham. But that was 90%. Ander Herrera was able to go ahead, do a little trick, and then just absolutely just poke it in. As you see a lot of the better goals that we scored this season, he was either assisting on he can do it all. He can cross, he can play the killer ball in. Yes, he does lose a ball occasionally in the midfield, and that's why I think he doesn't start, especially for LVG. He can sometimes be a little bit over-aggressive in his tackles, but you like that fire, you like that passion, and he really does seem to love playing for United. And for me, like, I just have to give him it because I don't think he gets enough credit for how many great balls that he delivers in and how many, like, what he does for distribution and everything. I think that if he played for a better side, he'd be such a key figure. Like, I feel like he could be a David Silva or something along those lines. If he had just better people to give it to and better people to kind of play around and play to his strengths, he would be an absolute like world-class player. That's just personally my opinion. But that is it for the unsung hero, and we're gonna move it on to who do you never want to see in a United shirt ever again. I'll just say probably Fellaini because that's the easy one to go with. He didn't really.
Jesus.
Oh God, there were just so many times during the FA Cup where I was like, "That's a great counterattack that got stunted because they couldn't play it into feet for Fellaini." Like, I counted like 6 times in the first half where it just dropped dead. Just dropped dead. They tried to switch the play, and Fellaini was on the other flank, and it was like, nope, can't go that way. Force it back, and then the defense had already recovered. So for me, he's pretty much gone. Sam, who do you never want to see in a United? Who do you want gone?
Fellaini. Just he has these moments, but they're too rare. Those moments are too rare. Like, I don't see those moments enough where he utilizes his chest, and actually chests the ball down in a good area. I just feel like there's better ways to play and better options for us than Marouane Fellaini. And even though you can play him in various positions, I just feel like we should be moving away from that direction. I feel like we should be going back to playing at the feet, passing, and not lobbing balls up forward, because it just didn't work enough. If it had worked throughout the entire season, fine, but it just didn't work enough. A few moments, yes, he did create goals, but it too scarce. Like, it just wasn't happening enough.
Yeah. Jay, are you going Fellaini as well?
Yeah, does he embarrass anyone else? I mean, when he wears this shirt, when I see him running in and just seeing that elbow come in, it just embarrasses me, and I'm just sitting there with my mates, and I'm just like, sorry? I don't know. Sorry? Did I say that? Like, you are wearing the biggest club's badge, crest in the world. And I don't know if he thinks he's an MMA fighter or something, but I think he's got this ideology of this hard tackling midfielder. Well, fucking tackle. Don't elbow. Excuse my language, but it does my head in. Just work on your tackling. If you're going to be in that deep midfield role, which I don't even know if he wants to be there or up front half the time, he changes his mind. Like, start tackling, or just stop, just go, just get off, because it infuriates me to see somebody of his caliber, kids meant to look up to him, blah, 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 and he's there elbowing people in the face, and I just don't like it at all. I don't like it. Get him gone.
It seemed like there was like 9 outfield players that were trying to play football, and then one wrecking ball that was just smashing into everything. And for the amount, like, for his size, I think I can count on one hand how many headed goals that he's gotten for United. I don't think he's gotten that many. Yeah, I was like, well, at least he'll be good for that. And I think he's only scored like 4 headed goals. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's been bad. And another player, now that Jose Mourinho is in, and even then, I'm gonna love him for the bicycle kick the scissor kick that he did to Liverpool, and this might make a couple people unhappy, because a lot of people do love him, but I think Juan Mata has to go, because simply, at least when Juan Mata is played out on the right side, I think he's a good creative player, but I think that he's a huge liability on defense. He does track back, but he offers absolutely nothing when he tracks back, besides putting a body in the way. And then there were so many times on the counter in the past 2 seasons, not even this season, when we're on the counter, they played across formation. It's the same thing as Fellaini, but it's for different reasons. Juan Mata doesn't have the pace. So once that counter is in and you play it to Juan Mata, the defense just absolutely tracks him down. And I know that he's more suited to playing the number 10 role, but when you have Rooney there and stuff, and he got shots in that number 10, role this year, and his whole entire reason for being out on that field was to be a creative midfielder, to provide chances to the likes of Martial, to Rashford, to Rooney. And this season specifically, I don't remember him really providing that many chances. Like, he had a good occasional free kick here and there, and maybe an assist or two, but he just didn't fit to the side. I don't know what it is. Maybe, the system, and he could play better in a different system. But for the way that it is now, obviously with Mourinho coming in, I think it's time that we move on from Juan Mata. I have some fond memories of him, but I think him and Fellaini are probably on the chopping block, and I won't be too heartbroken to see them guys go. Let's go ahead and move on to players that, that might be coming in. We've already confirmed that Zlatan is in. That's why Sam is on this chat right now. But Mourinho is said to be given, I don't know, like a 200, 150 million pounds to play with this summer, and he's already brought in one on a free. Whew! Just think about that, guys. Martial on the left and Zlatan in the middle. The scenes. Now that we got that big striker, we got that big center forward up front. Who are you bringing in? Who you want Mourinho to bring in to help him out? Jay.
Well, I love that Ibra's come in. Think about our young player of the season as well. Rashford gets to stand either side of Rooney and Ibrahimovic in training, and that kid's going to learn quick how to play big games. He's going to understand stuff from just watching them. In terms of bringing players in, I'll list the names that I think he should bring in. The first two is John Stones and Paul Pogba. I don't care how much it takes, just get Pogba back, because that was probably the biggest mistake any club has made over transfers in the last 10 years, getting rid of that kid. He is killing it in Juventus, and imagine what he'd be doing at Man United. It's just get him back, basically. If I'm dreaming, I'd want Griezmann and Varane to complete that. So Griezmann, Varane, Pogba, and Stones. It's big players, but the point I wanted to make is that Man United, you made it like perfectly from the start when you were saying that since we got rid of Ronaldo, we haven't played attacking football, but that's because we haven't had great players. You look at this Bayern Munich team, I've got a screenshot of it on my phone. Their B team is stronger than Man United. Man for man, player ability is much stronger than Man United's first team. It just is. They've got, Rafinha, they've now got Hummel in Benfica, you could have Nat at left back, you could have Thiago and Martinez in centre mid, you could have Sanchez and Alonso, Vidal, Road, one of them, Goetze or Muller in camp, Coman or Robin, Ribery or Costa, Lewandowski, they just blow our squad depth out.
You're gonna make me cry, man. You're gonna make me cry.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean, though? We sit here as Man United fans, but 10 years have gone past. We're still dreaming that we have Scholes, Giggs, that we have Rooney in form, Young, that we have Ronaldo, that we have Ferdinand and Vidic, that we have, goalkeeper's fine. I love to hear get his face tattooed on my face.
We got one.
Yeah, we got one. We got one player that would walk into that squad and probably take Edwin van der Sar's gloves off of him. Apart from that, these teams at the top of Europe are just blowing us out. We've got people like Phil Jones in our backup centre-back role, whereas Bayern Munich have Benatia, even Badstuber, Boateng, Hummels. Come on, how can we compete? There's no contest. So we need big names, and we need them now. If you're going to spend money, bring them in. So my four would be Stones, Griezmann, Pogba, and Varane.
Sam, who do you, or even positionally, where do you think that this team needs some shoring up?
First of all, I would not want Stones. I'd rather have Varane over him. I just think Stones is too inconsistent, and that Everton defense has been absolutely shambolic this season that's just gone past. So I'm not convinced on Stones. I think that's a lot of hype and not a lot of talent. Varane, though, looks like the real deal. I don't know if you could get him to leave Real Madrid, whether Madrid want to let him go, whether he wants to go. I don't think either of those are the case, especially with him potentially being the next starting centre-back with Ramos. Pepe's getting old. They don't really look to be signing any centre-back. So Varane is probably lined up for a starting gig at Real Madrid. So I don't know if you could bring him in. So centre-backs, I don't really have a specific one, but I think we do need a centre-back to go with Smalling, someone with a bit more age and a bit more experience. I don't know exactly who that would be, but we do need one. Pogba, oh my God, if we could bring Pogba back. If we could bring Pogba back, I don't know what I'd do with myself. That'd be the happiest moment if that ever got confirmed and I saw him holding a United shirt again. I don't think
it's getting rid of the best girlfriend
pinnacle
you've ever had. It's getting rid of that girlfriend, and then you're just looking at her what have I done?
Yeah, it's like getting rid of your the best girlfriend you ever had, and then she got 10 times hotter while she was with the next boyfriend, and you're like, I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and you've just been dating scrubs for the next 10 years.
That would just be the pinnacle, wouldn't it, if we brought in Pogba? I think another one that's being rumoured is James Rodriguez. I think that would be an amazing signing. Not getting game time at Real Madrid.
Sam.
Obviously has some sort of affinity with Porto and Real Madrid, where Mourinho's worked at as well. And that would be, if we're going to replace Juan Mata with anybody, right, as someone that can play attacking mid and right mid, James Rodriguez is your man right there. That dude is serious talent. And bringing him in would, imagine that, James Rodriguez behind Ibrahimovic, Martial on the left. That'd be insane. And I also think a right midfielder would do. And I want to see a real winger. I don't want to see an inverted striker. I want to see a winger, someone who's going to whip balls in, someone who's going to take a man on. I don't want to see a left-footed right midfielder. I want to see a right-footed right midfielder coming into the club, and just giving us a bit more width on that right-hand side, I think would help. With the returning Luke Shaw and Damian, those flanks are going to be insane. Shaw and Martial on the left, Damian and whoever we bring in, if we bring somebody in on the right, that would be insane. I think midfield though, Pogba, Schneiderlin, and Herrera as a 3, you could play, or even as a 2 with any of them. Maybe Schneiderlin and Pogba, allow Pogba a bit more free roaming, Schneiderlin sit back and defend. French connection as well. I mean, that would be, I'm just going into dreamland right now, but any of those signings would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I'm totally here with you. I'm already calling it. I'm thinking that James comes into Manchester United this summer, just because it makes all the world of sense. You go back and you look at the teams that Jose Mourinho has had throughout the years. He's always had that crucial cam in his system, that creative cam that he is sorely lacking here at United right now. You could probably say Rooney, but Rooney doesn't really. He plays a little bit more forward than a cam. You see it, he had that player like Oscar or Fabregas when he was over at Chelsea. I believe he had Schneider while he was at Inter. And then at Real Madrid, he had, the pick of the litter at Real Madrid or whatever. And, I'm thinking of like a creative midfield type that can really push the play forward and create and actually score as well. And I'm thinking like, what's the closest mold to Oscar in the world right now? And it's James Rodriguez at full health is just absolutely, you could argue maybe even a step above what Oscar is. And he's absolutely phenomenal. He's out of place because Isco and I think like a couple of other players are getting a little bit more playtime ahead of him. If we can snipe him for, 50 million, 60 million, I would be over the moon. Of course, Pogba, that is the dream. I don't know. He said that he's been open, to coming back. He said that he has always loved the club, Manchester United, but he's against Sir Alex Ferguson. Well, yeah, he's not here anymore. So, and if anybody,
I think that's his biggest problem. I don't think he's angry at Manchester United. I think he's just sort of like sticking it to Ferguson more than anything.
Because he knew he was ready, and you know what? He was entirely ready.
Yeah.
He was quite ready.
He was dressed, boots done up, ready to go.
Yeah, he was ready, and we didn't want to give him the playtime, and it was just like, I don't want to say anymore. Every United fan knows that he's exactly what we've been missing for the past like 6 years, 3 years that he's been gone or whatnot, and to get him back, oh my God, that would put us on the world stage again. It's gonna be tough. Without Champions League next year, you could be challenging for the league. And I think he's pretty much done everything that he possibly could do at Juve. But
he's the best midfielder in the world. He's the best midfielder because he's got age on his side.
I would for sure agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
6'2", 3". He's built. He can score. He can defend. Everything. So
I don't think it's an understatement when I say that he reminds me of Zidane, the way he plays.
Yeah, a lot.
Build-wise, the way he plays, the touches he has, the passes he makes, his dribbling, everything. Even French. And he just reminds me so much of Zidane. And it's just like, dude, this guy in a few more years, he's going to be one of those midfielders that's challenging for Ballon d'Or. Like, he is that good.
Did you see that assist to Giroud? You guys see that the other day?
No.
Mad. You have to look it up after this.
Right.
I definitely will.
First thing I'll do. But with that name, I think that's the biggest obstacle. I think that Jose could definitely sell a player on a project and that he brings in, when Zlatan comes in, everybody, picks their ears up. When Jose's in town, everybody picks their ears up. But he is a Frenchman, and if he's going to go anywhere to kind of upgrade where he's already been, and, Zidane's still at Real Madrid, which is very rare for, Real Madrid to win a Champions League and actually hold on to their manager for once. I would say that's probably odds-on favorite of where he goes, if he goes anywhere. I think with City signing Gundogan, that's kind of what they're going to be rocking with. But that's the dream, hopefully. If not, definitely another powerful, defensive-minded midfielder, in the line of maybe, I always butcher his name, but Kashawak or however I say his name. Yeah, I always absolutely destroy it. But like a strong, defensive-minded midfielder, holding midfielder, someone in the line of that could definitely work. I echo your guys' same sentiments in finding someone, a center back, maybe not as young as Varane or Laporte, but someone a little bit older. Maybe freaking Bayern has so many freaking goddamn center backs. Maybe we can get one of those. Like I wouldn't.
I was thinking if they start Hummels and Boateng, Benatia could be an option.
Benatia.
But how did we not snatch up Hummels? How did Man United not go? I can't think of a better player. I mean, we've got.
I don't think he wanted to go to United.
Yeah, he wanted.
Do you think?
I think that's the problem. I think we could have convinced Dortmund. I don't think we could have convinced him though.
Yeah, he seems pretty at home in Germany, and he did start his career over at Bayern. So he doesn't have to move up. He doesn't have to learn a new language, although he probably speaks pretty good English. All those Germans seem to be pretty bright. Point. So, it's more of a comfort level, and he gets to go to the top team. It's not the most challenging choice, and that's why people are kind of giving him shit. But it's a comfort choice, I guess. And with him moving over there, that's what I'm saying. Like, can we get one of your second teamers? Like, I wouldn't mind like one of those. The dream is someone if Diego Simeone does leave, that kind of leaves the treasure chest that is Atletico to the Wolves. Players like Antoine Griezmann. I know Sam would flip his fucking lid if Griezmann was the winger to come in on the right side, because that's Sam's favorite player in real life. And then Diego Godin was phenomenal during that Champions League final. Like that one tackle, I don't think I've ever seen a United player make a tackle like that before, where he just slides in, takes the ball away from the defender right as he's about to pull off a shot, just snip it away, cool, calm, collected, and then slide it over to his fullback or whatever. It was like, oh god, they're so much better.
And Saul as a midfield option as well.
Yeah. Saul would be Saul, Gabi, pretty much any of those players from either there or Sevilla would be absolutely magnificent. Just more Spanish players on the team would be nice in general. That wouldn't be a bad shout.
Spanish or French.
Yeah, and some French. Yeah, just a lot of French and Spanish, maybe some German if you got any left over. But you guys pretty much hit a lot of the players that I dream about. Probably James Rodriguez is probably the top of my list. Zlatan's already been accomplished, so a good true center back. And then I know you love Darmian, Sam, but I'm still not sold on Darmian defensively. That's the only thing. He kind of gets he gets caught. He's good. He's a good all round. He's Italy's number one choice at the right back position, but he gets caught out at the right back position, and that's something that I don't think that Jose Mourinho is going to have a lot of tolerance for. Like he likes to go in for guys who are absolutely stalwarts at the right back position. So maybe I don't know who's he going to be looking at. I think Contral might be on the out and out. Wait, no, he's a left back. My bad. Yeah, but someone probably in a more defensive-minded, right back would probably be someone to kind of go ahead and look forward. And even then, even if we do keep Darmian and don't bring anyone, some depth at the right back position. Of course, Fosu Mensah could go in there, but maybe a true defensive-minded right back.
What do you think about Dani Alves? Have you heard he might be leaving Barca? Possibly.
Oh god! Anytime Real Madrid and Dani Alves just talk about I'm gonna be leaving, and then it gets linked to Manchester United, you're like, oh, you mean you want a new contract? It's it's the same old story. So I'm not balking at that. I wouldn't mind the kid on the other side. I mean,
I'm pretty sure he's going to Juve.
Okay.
Dani Alves, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what's being rumored at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Juve 100%. I'm just stirring the pot.
No, I would not want Dani Alves. I don't rate him as high as a lot of people rate him.
Yeah.
Especially with his age. I don't know if that's a good investment.
And in a league where you actually have to defend, not just Barcelona, where they just walk it.
I mean, off the top of my head, I can't really think of an incredible right back, to actually be honest. But yeah, I think here's the thing. We're going to probably bring in a lot of good, interesting players in the summer, and then about 25% of those guys are going to be gone by January. So we'll see what happens. I'm along with you, Sam, bringing in some type of attacking right winger. Willian could be that type of dream, but if we don't get, Willian or someone in that vein, I'm thinking like, let's just go pick up someone from Shakhtar. That always seems to work out. Just pick up whoever is the right winger at Shakhtar this season, because whoever was the right.
I don't think they play wingers.
Or
I think
whoever,
Brazilian.
whoever,
mids.
just
Yeah.
pick up the Brazilian guys that Shakhtar
Yeah.
picks up, because Willian came from there, Diego
Pick up
Costa.
Tyson.
Yeah, get him. I don't care. Just pick up one of those guys. As long as he's Brazilian and he played a season at Shakhtar, bring him in. Discount Willian. That's all I'm talking about. And I remember what's funny is that like we were linked to all these players. I remember when we were linked to Douglas Costa back way back.
Yeah, me
When
too.
Fergie was around, he was almost pretty much linked. And I don't know, we are cursed when we try to pick up like these Brazilian wingers, because it was him, and then it was like Lucas, and then he decided to go to PSG, and
I was
You know-
going to say that. Speaking
you
of
know what?
Brazilian wingers, I was going to
Yeah.
say Lucas.
Yeah. But you know what? I think we had all our luck with Ronaldo. We signed him. He could have gone either way, and he just blew us up. And I think the universe is going, nah, no wingers for you for another decade or two.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, we do have Memphis on the team. No one's really survived about. But if he can turn around, he's got that potential.
He could turn it around. I think Memphis could turn it around.
Okay. But that'll pretty much wrap it up, because my last question on this says, do you dare to Zlatan? And I think we did. So I think that is a big, let me just write that down. Yes, we did. We did it, ladies and gentlemen. And that is a sweet way to go ahead and go off on this. Guys, do you have any good comments in your that you want to share, or do you want to plug anything? Like, Sam, what's going on in your channel right now?
At the moment, it's just the Napoli career mode, but we are, as you two know, doing a YouTuber tournament very soon. Stay tuned to that. It's Euro themed, and you'll be seeing that on a lot of people's channels. So I'll be making a video on that pretty soon. But other than that, just Napoli pretty much.
Yeah, you won't tell me what team I can get yet, asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll know when you know.
All right, Jay, what is going on with you?
I'm doing the pro clubs thing. We just wrapped up our VFL season, some competitive pro clubs, and then we've got the new season coming, and we've got a big transfer. I'm switching teams from Southampton to Roma, Champions League, so hopefully a bit more exciting next time round, and we're going to go for that league title. And then as far as comments go, I've got my goalie, who is without a doubt one of the best VFL goalies in the whole league, and every single episode he gets shit, and he's just been given team of the season, so he's sitting somewhere smug in his room right now, yeah. He's just replying to every comment, like, with a screenshot link to the team of the season, like, yeah, I'm really shit.
Okay. All right, man. And on my channel, I mean, you guys are already probably here, but I just posted up a vlog. I was away in Japan for a week, about 2 weeks ago or whatnot, and I finally got around to making that vlog. And then my favorite comment that I received on the video that I just dropped today was a dude who just said, "Ceiling full of dildos." And that was his comment. If you want to learn,
That's a good way to wrap it up.
what he was talking about, go ahead, check out the vlog. It has absolutely nothing to do with football, but Japan's fucking weird, man. And
Anything to do with dildos?
Yeah, it's fucking weird and it's interesting. So go ahead, check it out. Of course, click on any of the guys' faces at any of the time during this vlog. This will be going up on them Tuesdays. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for dropping by. Smush your nipple into the like button if you do so kindly. And yeah, thank you, Sam, for joining me. Thank you, JCC. Let's go ahead. We did it. We dared to Zlatan. Yes.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic.